right.
We're on camera again here.
Disc three.
I just wanted to mention
Disc three.
this particular instance about our British allies who were very, very brave soldiers. But the one thing that we could not understand is we're coming through this field in France and getting shells, incoming shells, and as we come into this opening, there's a group of British soldiers sitting around a fire, and the shells are popping around them, and we're saying, what the heck are you doing? Get up and get out of here. Oh, no, no. This is tea time. We have to have our tea. And we were stunned. We couldn't believe that they were sitting there with these tin cups drinking tea. And it'd be different if it was serene, but it wasn't. Bombs were bouncing around, and we were diving for cover, and they were standing there, sitting there around the fire having tea. We were on a British troop ship too, and I remember I'm going to wind up here, but I remember meeting a soldier, lieutenant. His name was Samanchik. You remember that name, Michael?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He was a lieutenant, and somehow or another, believe it or not, we met on deck of this British troop ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so happy to see me, and he said, if there's anything I can do for you while I'm here as an officer, please. But then I lost him.
Well, he was from Shenandoah?
Brandonville.
Brandonville? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember they had a bar down there?
Bar there, yes. That family had a bar, yes.
Daddy used to take us and
Sure.
pick mushrooms down there.
That's correct.
Well, his son was a lieutenant, second lieutenant, and he was so happy to see me because we knew we were going into harm's way. And he wanted to try to do things for me through his rank, but he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
See, I do remember on the British troop ship serving us their rye bread and tea. And believe it or not, it tasted very good.
I bet.
And they had a spread that they gave us, and we thought that was great. I mean, today we would think, what, rye bread and tea? That's not really a delicacy, you know. But that was one of the things I remember on that troop ship. And the other thing I remember was the soldiers playing cards and rolling dice. And money was no object because where are you going to spend it? So they were betting all kinds of money and losing all kinds of money. And then those of us would just ponder and wonder what's going to happen to us.
Do you remember what you were paid?
No, I don't. I remember sending home, if I got paid $50, which wasn't my pay, by the way, but if I got paid $50, I would send home 25 to my dad, and he would buy me an E-bond. And I have those E-bonds in my safe deposit box now, and they've certainly matured very nicely. And but pay, that reminds me of another incident where my cousin John Sweet was with the Military Air Transport Command, and he would start off, let's say, in Egypt. From Italy, he was based in Italy, then he would go to Egypt, and then through the transfer of currencies, he would wind up in this place where I was at the time, Paris, with a wad of money that'd stuff a horse, you know. And we had some very good get-togethers whenever he came there because he had all this money, and that was one of this. He wasn't involved in it, but there was a scandal in the Army where finance officers were sending home more money than they were making. Another problem that happened in the United States Army was with the Quartermaster Corps, where boxcars of American supplies would come in, and they would be appropriated by certain Army personnel and sold on the black market. Those were things that when they were found out, the United States Army punished those severely for those infractions, but it took place during the war. When I was in the Hurtgen Forest and after Aachen, not Aachen but the Bulge, I was on the front line for 30 straight days without a hot meal. And many of us soldiers, our stomachs started to shrink. See, if you're on a weight reducing program, that's fine. But if you're trying to survive and subsist, it isn't. So I remember they took us to a field hospital. And I say this to my brother, the doctor here. They put us in these bunk beds and fed us oatmeal with cream and lots of sugar. Round the clock. At 2 o'clock in the morning, a nurse would come and grab you and shake the living daylights out of you as you were sound asleep and say, "It's time for your oatmeal. Get up." And they got us to a point. The oatmeal was supposed to bring our stomachs back to some form of normalcy. Then they took us down to the chow line and ultimately fed us the regular food, but little by little, which I thought was a great way, because I wasn't just the one. There were quite a few soldiers there, and that particular, maybe 100 or so soldiers that I remember being fed oatmeal, cream, and lots of sugar. That was their treatment for those of us who didn't have anything hot for that 30 days.
Had you lost significant weight because of it?
Yeah, we're all pretty frail, I mean, not that bad, but I mean, we lost weight, and we were very weak.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even eat the field rations after a while. So they just took us out of there and put us in the field hospital and then got us back to duty. I mean, that didn't take you out of that. They just got your stomach back to order. So there's a lot of disjointed stuff I've been telling you here that I remember.
Could I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Do you know what happened to Victor McCausland?
Victor McCausland, believe it or not, was taken prisoner by the Germans, liberated by the Russians, and he told me the worst thing that ever happened to him was to be liberated by the Russians. He said they had nothing to eat, so they couldn't give him anything to eat, see? And he was the closest thing to a walking skeleton that you could see, But he survived. And I met him in Philadelphia for one time when I was staying at my aunt's place in Philadelphia, my Aunt Feline and Uncle Frank McLaughlin. And he told me these things. He said what I went through, and we were just minutes away from rescuing him, but the Germans were quick enough, and the shooting was intense, that he was taken prisoner with 2 other soldiers, and we never saw him again until the end of the war. But he did say that the Russian experience, because they had nothing, they couldn't give him anything. And the Americans liberated him from the Russians. So he did survive.
That's it.
That's great.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah, that's an hour and a half on the button.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Bill. That was
Let's
fantastic.
get some sandwiches.
Now we got to take the